Right, we're live. Round I come.
Hi guys, welcome back to Facebook Live. I'm
Hello,
Alice
everybody.
and I'm joined by Duck.
Hi there, folks.
I haven't been on Facebook Live for a very long time, so pleased to be back.
And why are you back today?
I'm back today to celebrate Safer Internet Day. Happy Safer
Huzzah.
Internet Day, everybody.
We were going to sing Happy Safer Internet Day to you, but it doesn't quite scan very well.
Although randomly, just before we started, someone did start singing Happy Birthday, which was quite appropriate.
In a very squeaky voice.
It was very squeaky, so I'm glad it didn't happen during the live stream.
This in a normal
it
voice,
might happen again, though.
Because we want you to be more secure, not just safe, but safer.
Yes.
That's the whole idea of Safer Internet Day.
Indeed.
It's not one day where you're safe, it's where you do something no matter how safe you are now, so that you're better forevermore.
So I was just checking down here that we are actually live, because there's no one behind the camera today. We are just doing this ourselves, so I wanted to make sure we are actually talking to you guys. So Dirk, I thought today, because it is Safer Internet Day, let me just turn this down because I can hear myself through both things. You could give us some tips on what is the current advice in cybersecurity 2020? What is the most up-to-date things that people should be thinking about?
Okay, I'm going to do this, but don't be too hard on me, right? Usually, because you, having come, a year and a bit ago from outside the security industry, learned the stuff quickly and then gone, why are we still saying these same things? Like, isn't it obvious? I know it within 1 year. How come everyone else does? So I am going to say things that we've said before, but even if you're already doing them, remember these tips, because go back and make sure you really did them, just in case you think you're safe but you're not. So
the problem is then that people aren't actually putting the advice in place, because I can't remember the story now, but we had one recently where a very big company that you wouldn't expect to have this had a big breach, and it was down to some very basic security practices. And I do feel like we say this all the time, so when we give this advice, if it sounds basic to you, are you actually following that advice? Because if you're not, then you are still at risk.
Or have you applied the advice, or you think you did, but maybe that was on the previous version of Windows you had, or it was before you switched to your Mac.
So let's get started.
So I'm going to start, so don't beat me up. Pick proper passwords. We do say this every time. Most of you will have got this right, because lots of people these days are using password managers, and those pick a different password for every website. They pick long and complicated passwords because they can remember long things as easy as you remember your cat's name. And they make sure you put the password only into the right website. But if you're not, or if you've still got those unimportant accounts, lots of people think, oh well, it doesn't matter. I've got these accounts that I don't really care about, so I'll just put my cat's name, add 99. That'll be good enough, and I'll use that on every account. The problem is that even if someone gets into an account of yours that's maybe to read articles on the local newspaper, if they can post comments as you and you don't realize they're doing it, it's you who ends up looking bad. So there's no such thing as an account that doesn't matter.
So when you say pick proper passwords, at my last company, the security advice was to change your password. I think it was like every 3 months. And obviously you get into the pattern of just putting 56, 57, 58, exclamation mark, at the end of the same password. Is that advice not relevant anymore? Should people keep the same password but just make sure it's really complicated?
I think in the olden days, when all we had was passwords and people did pick their cat's name and then they kept it for 12 years, the idea of changing your password, it was kind of all we had as a way of that. Even if person put 1, 2, 3 on the end, it was better than just having Daisy as their password. Daisy 3 was somehow seen as better. Now, the problem with changing your password is if you just do it every month because there's a rule that says you should but you didn't need to, you're kind of wasting your time. You'd be much better changing your password and picking something that could last, or going to the next tip, which you can guess what it is. The tip that comes second is two-factor authentication. Now that's a battle. Everyone knows about two-factor authentication. It's those SMS codes you get on your phone.
Do they though? Because I think the problem with two-factor authentication is its name, because it's it doesn't explain what it is, two-factor authentication.
So some people call it two-step verification.
Right, or multi-factor authentication.
You put in your username, you put in their passwords, those are the same every time, and then you get that one-time code. I think most people do know it, because lots of banks, particularly in the UK, lots of banks require you to do it for bank accounts now. But I think a lot of people go, I don't care about it because it's a pain. I'll pick a really complicated password, I'll be fine, and then I'll save myself 15 seconds every day when I come to log in. Or if I leave my phone at home, and I can't get the SMS, I can still log in on my laptop. Well,
Right.
A, don't forget your phone, and B, those 15 seconds that it costs you could be 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months that it costs the crooks.
Okay.
And it does mean that if your password gets breached, which could be not your fault, it could be a website you shared it with, if they get breached, what you don't want is the crook get your username, your password, then they could just sail in as you without any blockage at all.
Okay.
So the idea of the 2FA, because it changes every time, it makes it a little bit harder for you and a lot harder for the crooks.
Okay.
So we recommend that.
Okay, so passwords, 2FA, what
Yes.
else?
The third thing, most people, or many people, will have this automatically sorted out by now. If you've got a Mac or Windows or a phone, you've probably got this happening automatically, getting your updates,
Right.
patches. Now, I know we say this every time, but one thing you need to remember, if you did last year go and, I'll turn on automatic updating, I'll take the risk, maybe my printer will hiccup every time there's an update and I have to go fiddling around to get it to work again. It's a small price to pay for not having crooks able to wander into your computer at will.
Okay.
But it's important that if you have turned on automatic updating, still make a point of going into the updating screen, whether it's Windows, Mac or your phone, every now and then, and just checking that you really are up to date, just in case something broke. Because there's nothing worse than thinking you're secure
Right,
and then
okay.
finding out, oh golly, I've missed out 6 months worth of updates,
Okay.
and the crooks to come wandering in.
Okay.
Okay, the fourth thing is this applies at work but also at home, and that is make your backups. Now, the reason most people think, oh, I need backups, is they're scared of ransomware.
Right.
Scrambles all their files, and then the crooks say, send me money or you never see your files again. So if it takes the threat of ransomware to get you over the line to make backups, treat that as a kind of necessary evil. Because the thing with backups is they don't just protect you from ransomware, they protect you from losing your laptop, getting your
Yes.
laptop stolen, dropping your laptop in the canal, all these kind of things. That's not happened to me, but
And
I
what
did drop an iPad in Sydney Harbour once.
did you? So what kind of backups are you saying? These kind of like iCloud automatic backups or on a hard drive or?
All of the above,
Okay.
really. So the cloud is a convenient place for backup because you can upload stuff, and then if your computer breaks or gets lost, you can buy a new computer and download there.
Yeah.
You don't have a removable drive that you have to hide in a cupboard somewhere. The problem with these automatic real-time backups, some people, they'll plug in a removable drive, just leave it plugged in all the time,
Yeah.
or they'll connect to the cloud, and then they'll do some magic that lets them, say, mount the cloud drive as a drive letter, and they think, oh, it's convenient, it's always there, I can always copy files, they're always
Right.
updating. The problem is that the crooks who do ransomware attacks, they
Can
know how
access
to
it.
find out what
Right.
backups you've got online, and they make the best effort to wipe them first, so that you go, I'll restore my backups. I won't have to pay the crooks money, and then you go, uh-oh,
They've all
the
been
backups
deleted.
or scrambled as well.
Okay.
So even if you don't do it very often, maybe if you do it once every couple of weeks or once a month, a backup that is offline, off-site, old-style backups, like people used to make onto magnetic tapes. If you have a removable drive and you store data on there and you encrypt it on a Mac, for example, that's really easy to do. It's built into the operating system. You can plug in a removable drive, you can initialize it, so do you want to encrypt
Okay.
it?
Oh, that's
And
good.
then that means you can, if you've got a friend down the road who does the same, every month you can swap hard drives. That means if they turn rogue and try and look at your drive, they won't be getting into it.
Okay.
If someone breaks into their house and steals it, it won't be any good to them. But if you get locked out of your house, they might have a fire or a flood or some reason that you're not allowed back in, you can go somewhere else and retrieve your data.
Okay.
And when it's offline, it means the one thing you can be sure of, the crooks can't access it remotely because it's locked in a cupboard somewhere.
Okay.
So it is a pain to do backups. It does take time, but it doesn't take an awful lot of time. And just being able to get those tax returns from last year, the documents when you really need them, instead of going and paying the crooks $1,000 to be able to get them
Right.
back yourself, what a great freedom that is.
And do we find that ransomware is more targeted at businesses than individuals?
The ransomware that gets the big news these days is tending to target businesses because the crooks figure we'll break into the network, we'll take a week or two, we'll snoop around, and then they encrypt all the computers in one go.
Right.
So then your business really comes to a screaming halt more than if they've encrypted random selection of computers
Okay.
here and there. So A, you're more likely to pay, and B, to be honest, they can ask you for more money.
Yeah,
so the
definitely.
ransoms, instead of $300 or $1,000, they're more like $50,000 to $500,000 or even
Okay.
more. Having said that, there is not all crooks are doing this, what you might call enterprise ransomware. There are still guys that if they scramble your computer and they think they can get $300 out of you in bitcoins, they're going to try.
Okay.
And you could get stuck. Like if you don't have a backup, you may have little choice. If you really need those files, you may have little choice but to do a deal with the devil.
Okay, so what's your final piece of advice?
The final piece of advice, I wish there was a thing I could say, well, go to this menu option, click that button, you'll be golden. Review the privacy settings in any app or online service you use, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or the apps you've got. Now, unfortunately, they all have different menus, they all have different names for these things. It's a little bit of a pain.
Yeah.
But, you hear a lot of people saying, well, I don't want to leave Facebook altogether, but I'm worried about this sharing and that sharing, and once I published something and it turned out it went to everybody, not just to my friends. If you go into Facebook's privacy settings, you may be pleasantly surprised to find there's a lot more control than you thought. And then just make sure that you aren't oversharing by mistake. It's one thing to blame Facebook saying, oh, they share too much. But if there's control that you could have put in place, why not do it? Because you can keep yourself safe.
Okay, cool. Good advice. And I'm pleased that it's the same advice because it means, luckily for our listeners and businesses, you haven't got to learn all brand new security advice. It is just putting in these very simple steps.
And I think many people will have done them.
Right.
So don't gloat. Go and tell your friends, I did it and it wasn't as hard as you might think. Because I think a lot of people, two-factor authentication,
definitely.
it's so difficult. Yeah. But it's a little bit of pain, but it's not like learning to drive and getting a driving license. It's much easier than that.
It is. And also, I think the surprising thing is that so many people are not doing it. So if you realise that you aren't doing it, you shouldn't feel bad because these massive companies still aren't using these basic security practices. So it's not just you.
And I think there's still a feeling, and I can understand this, that people see the news where these giant companies have a breach and they lose 250 million records. Or, what was it with Yahoo? 3,000 million, 3 billion records.
Oh, my goodness.
Why would a crook, or they see ransomware demand for $5 million, and they go, no crook's going to be interested in me. The point is that the crooks don't need to be interested in you. They just have to break into your computer almost by mistake. If they realise they've got malware on your computer and they can control it, and they can make $50 instead of $50,000, and it costs them 2 cents to get the money out of you, they're going to do it. And that's the problem. Nobody is really under the radar. Right.
So a lot of this stuff isn't targeted. They're just blanketing loads of people. And if you haven't got these practices in place, you're going to fall victim.
And unfortunately, some of it if you're just saying, oh, well, I'll detect scams and phishing and crook attacks because they won't know who I am, so it'll say, dear sir stroke madam or whatever, and they won't know. Actually, increasingly, the crooks do know who you are. They don't know who you are. They just know that if they send to this email address, they can say, dear Susan, dear James, and they'll get it right. They can guess you with this bank, that ISP, that you've got a Mac, that you've got an Android or whatever. So it's very easy for them without actually saying, I'm going after you, to send you something that makes you believe that they're more than they are. So watch out. Nobody is off the radar of the crooks. If you're a big company, you've got a lot more to lose, and you may have a lot more crooks who are interested in the big money trying to get into your account. But if you're an individual, the crooks will take you if you can, because sadly, as you said, they can blast out emails. It kind of costs them nothing. So it's almost like they've got nothing to lose unless and until they get caught.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for that advice, Duck, and thank you for watching. Happy Safer Internet Day. Please pass on and share this video so that we can get the message out of these 5 basic tips.
Yes, and visit nakedsecurity.sophos.com where we've got some complimentary tips 5 tips for securing your business, small, medium or large.
Okay,
They're
great.
not the same as these.
And we are now going live on Instagram. So if you've got questions you want to ask Duck, please go and post them on there and we'll answer them now.
Yes, we've got a few good ones and we welcome any more.
You're going to have to go round because we don't have a cameraman. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.